Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. And with that, we are going to start the Stingray Show. Right here on this edition, we're going to be discussing good old Rocky Top of Tennessee versus the Florida Gators. And we're also going to talk about all of the head coaching carousel and could Lane Kiffin be going to the Florida Gators. That is all ahead on this edition of the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No.
Hey, Stingray, Here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, we want to welcome you inside the Hump Day Wednesday edition of the Stingray Show. We are previewing the Florida Gators and the Tennessee Volunteers, and everybody is talking about, the SEC has a cupcake weekend. Yeah, for some of the teams at the top, but there are still really good matchups out there, including the one today. And unfortunately, if you are a Florida Gator fan, if you are a Tennessee fan, Florida has owned this series over the last 20 games, as they have won 17 of the last 20 matchups, but Tennessee did get the win last year.
Stephen, I've said it on the show, and I'll stick by it. What is the SEC doing? This game should be at the beginning of the season. This was a marquee game, a marquee matchup. And even in down years, people still look forward to this game. Any rivalry game, I'm always going to watch. But I don't like this game a week out before Thanksgiving. Let's move this thing back to the beginning of the season, the first SEC game of the season, because – man, it had so many implications back in the day. And right now, there's not really any implications when you have it at the end of the season. There's still hope for both sides, is what I'm saying. If you play this rivalry at the beginning of the season, the Tennessee-Florida rivalry, man, just so much fun could happen. But here we are, and guess what? I'll watch it because I still love this game.
It is a lot of fun. And Heath, we don't necessarily have a term for this rivalry game. However, we do need it because, like you said, there have been some crazy, wild finishes in this game. And one in particular that sent Steve Spurrier into retirement from Florida and going to the NFL because Philip Fulmer finally got him back in the 90s.
Yeah, it took him a decade or however long it was. It took him a long time. But, sometimes this game was played in remnants of hurricanes.
Yep.
So much fun in this game. And of course, Spurrier just jabbing Tennessee fans,
Yep.
Philip Fulmer, the team, Peyton Manning, just jabbing those guys nonstop and press conferences leading up to this. It was so much fun, and we miss it.
All right. So let's talk about the home team first, and that is the Volunteers of Old Rocky Top. And in order to join us to talk about this game from the Tennessee side, here is Ryan Silva of Rocky Top Insider. Ryan, how are things with you this morning, as they say, up on old Rocky Top?
Things are good. It's good to have some, somewhat meaningful football back for Tennessee after the bye week and then New Mexico State. It got a little bit in the weeds, a little sluggish, but obviously, no matter what, college football playoffs implications aren't necessarily on the table. But Tennessee, Florida is going to get all your attention, so it should be a fun one.
Ron, I'm kind of glad that we're not talking about coaching changes right now with Tennessee.
Yep.
But I will say this. I know Heupel hasn't had the best season. It sure hasn't been a bad season, but I think he's going to deserve a well-deserved pay raise, or someone's going to come snatch him up. Have you heard any talks of them going and extending Josh Heupel? Because this coaching carousel is just starting to get crazy, and the first domino fell with Virginia Tech making their hire, but it's going to get crazy here shortly. So have you heard anything? Because a week from now, there's going to be more firings.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think he'll get some super max extension to make him the highest paid coach in college football or anything. But It seems like most of the time, with what Danny White does, it's after seasons, maybe add a year to the contract, add a little bit of a pay raise, some incentives, things like that. So especially if there is an LSU or someone else that tries to test the water in hiring a Josh Heupel and pulling him away, then that would make a lot more sense to boost his pay here and make sure that he doesn't go anywhere, which I don't anticipate him going anywhere either. But we'll see. I could definitely see a little bit of a bonus added by the end of the year. I could also see if there isn't much of a pool elsewhere, if you just kind of play it out into next season and see where you are.
So Ryan, talk a little bit about this rivalry game as you have been covering it from the Tennessee perspective, please.
Well, yeah, when they go to the Swamp, it's not a lot of fun for Tennessee, and so that's kind of the big holdup this year as well. Is Tennessee has a better team now. Tennessee's not perfect, but Florida's not good, and they're with an interim coach, and they've looked competitive. Obviously, last week at Ole Miss, and then they got their doors blown off by Kentucky, who's one of the worst teams in the SEC. So it really just depends where the game's played. You have to feel pretty good when they're at home right now with Josh Heupel, but on the road, it's just been a different story. So we're a couple days out from this game, a few days out from this game, and I'm still not 100% sure which way I go because of not just the road struggles against Florida, but just under Heupel in general. There's been those road struggles that you've seen. They've won a couple marquee road games, like the win at Mississippi State this year. The Mississippi State's not a world beater. It was still a strong win, but it still gives you a little bit of a hold up when you look at this series just because they haven't won down there since 2003. Most of the guys on Tennessee's roster weren't alive the last time Tennessee won in the Swamp. It's kind of crazy to think about.
That is very crazy to think about. Ron, this rivalry, I still feel very strong that this should be early in the season. This game should be played in September. How do the Tennessee fans feel about that? Are they happy that we're a week from Thanksgiving and they're in the Swamp? Because this game should be played, people still telling stories of what they did Labor Day weekend. I think this game should be played at the beginning of the season, second or third game of the season. I always think this game should kick off SEC play. This game was just such a huge game for so many decades. And even if one of the teams are down or both teams are down at any time, I still think it's kind of the gateway to conference season. Your thoughts on this game being so late, and with the fans at Tennessee, and even you personally, would you like to see this game moved back up at the beginning of the season?
I like it at the beginning of the season just because it's kind of the traditional way. It was the play-in for the SEC championship most years back in the day, and so it was a massive deal. You think back to like the 1998 game where Tennessee wins off the Florida Miss field. Like there's just so many iconic moments from early in the season that kind of set the stage for the rest of the season for both sides of it. We're not going to have it every year going forward after this. It's not one of the permanent rivalries, which is also going to be weird because they have such a rich history of playing each other. And it's more of a recent history. It's not like it's one of those series that goes back to the 1800s where they've played every single season, like Tennessee, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and those type of series. But just since kind of the early 90s, it's been one of the more iconic rivalries within the SEC. So I think that, yeah, you look at the traditional side of it from that perspective. But at the same time, I think at least going into the season, Tennessee fans were happy to get it off of the early side of the schedule just because it felt like so many times. Like you think back to 2021 in particular, Florida was rolling to start 2021. They looked good under Dan Mullen. Things were looking good in the swamp. By the end of the season, obviously everything completely fell off the rails and Dan Mullen's not the head coach anymore. That felt like a season where Tennessee caught them early and they caught a good-looking Florida team. They lost. If they would have caught them at this point in the schedule, probably could have won that game even in Heupel's first year as head coach at Tennessee. So I think early in the season there was a little bit of that optimism, but right now maybe you're looking at it from the other side of it where you could have caught them where you were feeling pretty good. Maybe you catch them right around when that Georgia game happened, and we all know how good Tennessee looked in that Georgia game, at least offensively. Yep. That would have been enough to beat Florida on the road. Now you're seeing where the motivation is. Your college football playoff hopes are dashed already. So how are you going to go down there and respond? Is there still that fire, that energy of a team that's looking to make the playoffs? Or do you come out and you look a little sluggish? Because if you do, you're going to lose on the road.
Ryan, we talk about it almost every day here on the show, the depth and the injury side of it as we move down the stretch here of the end of the season. What does this Tennessee team look like? How banged up are they going into this Florida matchup?
The number one injuries have still been at the cornerback position. Jermod McCoy is still yet to play this year. We'll see if he does play this year. If he does end up playing at all this season, I mean, if you're a Tennessee fan, you have to completely tip the cap to him. He has no reason to play besides wanting to give his all for Tennessee and all that type of stuff, because he'll be a first-round draft pick easily without playing a snap this year. And like the playoffs are off the table. So if he does come back, that would be massive for Tennessee secondary. We'll just see exactly what that looks like. And then Ricky Gibson got hurt a few snaps into the season, your other starting corner, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to play at all this year either. So you've been to your backup two cornerbacks. Now, one of them's a projected first-round draft pick, so it's been fine. And the other one, the true freshman, Ty Redmond, has played a lot better recently, but it's still not the ideal situation you'd like to have given the two guys that are out. What I'm curious about right now is there was two or three notable injuries in that win over New Mexico State, kind of in the third quarter. Tennessee's trying to put the game away. Their starting tight end Miles Kitselman gets kind of the back of his knee ran into by running back Peyton Lewis. Didn't look good. We'll see, I guess, tonight exactly how they list him, but not the most optimistic feeling after that one. And then Wendell Moy Jr., your starting guard. He's played both sides of the line, but he's been at guard all season. He's been really good. Transfer out of Arizona. He got hurt on that same drive as well. So what does his status look like? Is he going to be able to go? Is he going to be a game time decision, questionable? Are they going to rule him out, or is he going to go? We'll find out a little bit more about that tonight on the injury report. But those are the two names right now where, maybe the Wendell Moy one, certainly very, very important. Miles Kitselman's played a lot too. Those could be big deals if you're without either or both of those guys.
Rod, doing all your research, as you know, you cover the Vols, doing all your research for this game, what's something that kind of stuck out to you that's like, oh, interesting? What's one stat or one point of view that you see that you're like, I'm going to be watching for that during the game? Has anything jumped off the page to you in your research for this game?
This isn't the deepest cut, but it just kind of feels like a game where whoever's quarterback doesn't mess up more will win it. Like you look at what DJ Lagway's done, and he's looked unbelievable at times. And even last year, he's looked really good. A majority of the time, though, he's turned the ball over at just an absurd clip. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns this year, and that's obviously not going to fly as an SEC quarterback, especially at a program like Florida that's looking to win at a high level. And Joey Aguilar, that was kind of the big scuttle around him when he came to Tennessee, was he's going to give the ball to the other team a lot. And at first, he kind of avoided that, and it was like, it's not as bad as we thought it might have been. And then recently, he's run into those issues through 2 interceptions against New Mexico State. Neither of them the best decisions. Was costly in the Oklahoma game with turnovers. It just hasn't been the cleanest slate for him recently either. So for me, a lot of this game comes down to, well, is Joey Aguilar going to give Florida the ball and give them good field position? Because if he does, Florida's probably going to win. Is DJ Lagway going to throw 3 interceptions like he's been prone to at times? Because if he does, Tennessee's going to win. So I don't even think you need some remarkable world beater type of performance from either guy. It's just, can you manage the game? Can you limit mistakes? I think that'll go a long way. And a way for Tennessee to do that too, I think, is jump on Florida early. You take a 10-point lead in the first quarter. You take a 14-point lead in the first quarter. DJ Lagway's probably going to go out there and try to force it a little bit, try to make something happen. And when those margins get thinner, that's when he's made more mistakes. That's when Tennessee could come up with those turnovers, and then things start to snowball. And I fully expect Florida to come out, despite what the record looks like, firing on all cylinders and trying their hardest. What does that response look like when you're not really playing for much besides pride, and you're down 20-0, and you're down 20-3, 20-7, and things start to snowball on you? That's when I think things can get a little out of hand, like they did in Lexington a couple weeks ago.
Do you think that Florida might be looking ahead to Florida State at all? I mean, both are not having the best seasons. That is a bitter rivalry game. And, of course, it's bitter with Tennessee too, but it's just one of those things, an in-state rival and then one of your more traditional rivals kind of back-to-back. Your thoughts on Florida coming into this game? Where do you think they are mentally?
I think they should be taking it one game at a time. Like, Florida State's a bigger rival than Tennessee from the Florida perspective. But at the same time, there's a lot that goes into the series. There's a lot of pride. There's a lot of pride in defending your home field since 2003, no matter who the head coach is or what the teams look like. Florida's just had a lot of success, obviously, in the down years of Tennessee. And then even in the swamp since Josh Heupel took over. He's 0-2 down there, including the 2023 team that probably had a decent chance to win that game. So I would think they're pretty focused on this week. And then you look at it kind of from the individual player perspective, whether you want to stay at Florida and you want a pay raise, whether you want to enter the transfer portal and you want a nice payday to land at a good school, whether you want to get drafted. There's a lot that goes into these final games of the season against SEC opponents, against a rival like Florida State, where you got to personally play well. And that might not necessarily result in wins if you're not playing together, but just from the individual perspectives of all the guys on that team, you want to put up some really good tape right now, because it'll hurt your wallet or help your wallet, depending on what you do, and hurt or help your standing on what type of program you're going to be at next year, whether it's Florida or not.
Real quick question. You were mentioning the quarterbacks. Who's playing quarterback next season for Tennessee? Aguilar is a senior. Is it going to be a portal guy, or is it going to be what's the kid's name? Merklinger?
Right now, I mean, who knows? I would think they'll probably go to the transfer portal to try to find someone. Realistically, if you do that, you probably market it as a quarterback competition, but it would be kind of surprising if you go into the portal and you land a big name, because there should be a handful of big names out there that Tennessee will be in the hunt for. That guy will probably be your starter. If it's not that guy, feels like Merklinger is kind of, he has a lot of talent. It's just interesting to see, after losing one quarterback battle, do you try to run it back or do you test your luck elsewhere? I guess is how I would say it, because he was in the running with Joey Aguilar this year. They like George McIntyre a lot, but he'll be a redshirt freshman. So do you want to try that again after you did it with Nico a couple years ago and it wasn't the most solid play out of him? And then you'll bring in 5-star Faison Brandon, #1 overall recruit in the country on 247. He'll be in the mix theoretically, but it's tough to imagine that Heupel gives the reins to a true freshman. So I would put my money on a transfer, but we'll have to see if they're able to land who they want and go from there.
Interesting.
I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. Don't know if I'm going to be right or not, but it was announced a couple of days ago that a current Arizona State quarterback is looking to jump in the transfer portal. Tennessee will be starting Sam Levitt next year up on old Rocky Top.
That would be a home run, I think, for Tennessee too, assuming he stays healthy, because that was obviously the issue this year. I mean, that would be I think a great fit and one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. And if you can get that defense looking a little bit more like it did last year than this year, Tennessee would be a really tough out.
So, Ryan, before we get to the transfer portal and everything, we've got a game this weekend. When you look at the X's and O's, where should Tennessee be concerned that Florida can take advantage of them?
They're going to have to stop the run. Florida's kind of just got one back in Jaden Bogg, who's been really good this year for them. Outside of that, it's been kind of hit or miss. But if they can get Jaden going, it's going to be tough for Tennessee to defend everything else. If you make DJ Lagway throw the ball and you stop the run and you limit DJ Lagway as a runner himself, then you're probably going to have a lot more success in this game, and that's when those turnovers for DJ Lagway start to show up again. But with how Tennessee's defended the run this year, it's tough to bet on them completely shutting that down. Now, I think they did a lot better of a job against Oklahoma throughout that game in limiting what John Mateer does and what those running backs do. But at the same time, you look at the full body of work for Tennessee, and it's just been simple stuff. Like, you're just not filling the gap. You're not setting the edge. You're not taking the right angle. You're not tackling well. Those are issues that could come up again. If they do, it's going to be some trouble for Tennessee to try to get off the field if Florida's run the ball at a good clip.
Ryan, when we flip it, where do you feel like that Tennessee can take advantage of Florida?
I think you still have to like the pass game for Tennessee right now. And once again, you got to establish the run to be able to do that. If you're letting Florida stop your run with weak boxes and you're letting them kind of have those heavier shells, I guess, it's going to be a lot easier for Florida to defend those routes down the field. But just the way all three of those receivers are playing right now, Chris Brazzell's getting most of the headlines, and he should. He's been phenomenal this year. But what you've gotten from Braylon Staley in the slot has been terrific. He's one of the best freshmen in the country. He's a redshirt freshman, so it's not a first-year guy, but still technically a freshman. He's just been phenomenal for Tennessee in the slot, and definitely a bright spot that fans are really looking forward for next season as well. And then on the other side, on the outside, Mike Matthews has been terrific too. So that combination of three guys, tight end spot, we'll see if Miles Kitselman can go. If he can't, Ethan Davis kind of had one of his better games against Oklahoma as well as a pass catcher. Those guys can get in the mix. You need the running back step up a little bit in the pass game, but just overall, as long as Joey Aguilar makes the right decisions and doesn't give it to the other team like he's been prone to a little bit recently, I think you have to really like what Tennessee does through the air, and that could be a big factor. And like I said, Tennessee wants to jump out to an early lead. Good way to do that is some splash plays down the field through the air.
All right. And go ahead, Hayes. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Ron, what's the one thing that you're just worried about for Tennessee in this game? What's one thing that could be exposed, or whether it be depth or whatever it might be? What's one thing you're worried about?
I guess offensively, it's the Joey Aguilar interceptions. If he's not reading the defense well, and he, like, so many of those interceptions aren't, there's a couple, but a lot of them aren't recently just, oh man, that's a good play from the defense. It's, oh my gosh, that's a horrible read. You didn't see a safety. You didn't do something like that. They tricked you with their coverage and you thought it was cover 2 and they went to cover 3, things like that should be avoidable. If he's turned the ball over like he has been, Tennessee's going to have a rough time. Then the other aspect is, can you get the run game going? You would have hoped against New Mexico State that Tennessee would have really gashed a New Mexico State team that obviously they're way more talented in. They're bigger than up front. They weren't really able to ever just like, we're going to put the ball on the ground for 10 plays and find the end zone on a 70-yard drive. It was a lot of 3-4-yard rushes, which are enough to win football games, but are the 3 and 4-yard rushes against New Mexico State going to translate to 3 or 4 yard rushes against a Florida team? Probably not. And so if you can't get a couple 8-yard runs, consistently get 3 or 4 every time you put it on the ground, then it just kind of murks up everything on the offensive end. That's what worries me a little bit, especially if DJ Lagway does protect the ball and play a little bit better than he has recently.
Ryan, how do you see it playing out in Florida on Saturday, the Gators or the Vols?
Man, I could really see almost every single result that you could think of happening. I could see Tennessee running away with this one and it looking like that Kentucky game for Florida. I could see Florida jumping on Tennessee early and Tennessee just coming out flat and never having a chance and losing by a couple scores. I could see this game coming down to the wire and either team winning it. I could see it going to 10 overtimes and it's just an instant class. I could see a nuke hitting midfield halfway through the game. I have no clue what is going to happen in Gainesville. I'll have a firm prediction by the end of the week. I'll guarantee that. I'll pick a side. But right now, I'm like, man, it just feels like every single result you could think of could happen in this one because of how up and down these teams have played. If you got a gun to my head right now, you're like, you have to pick a team, I guess I would go like 51% Tennessee, but I still don't feel comfortable with that at all. Like, I would not be confident in it.
Wow. Okay.
Ryan, as we walk out the door and finish up this interview with you, I'm going to put you on the spot. We've all heard the rumors out there. Is Lane Kiffin staying at Ole Miss? Your thoughts?
Man, that's another one where it feels like every result that you could think of could realistically happen. I think this is a hot take right now. I'll say yes. I'll say Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss agree on something. He stays in Oxford. And I think that's probably the unpopular pick. But it's right now for me, I look at it and I go, LSU does not feel like a great job right now with all the outside noise and everything that's going into that. Florida, they've just been down for a little bit now. And now obviously you can win at the highest level at both of those places. But what he's got going at Oxford right now, you're going into a team where you're probably going to be 11-1 going into the playoffs. You have the potential to host a playoff game. That feels tough to turn down. If Ole Miss can kind of make the money work a little bit, I think that would make a lot of sense for him to stay there. But we'll see. Who knows with Lane Kiffin, right? He can do whatever he wants. He's a wild card.
Do you think he'll be the highest paid coach in college football? Because Tony Barnhart was on the show. We were talking to Tony, Mr. College Football himself, and he said Florida's opening offer is going to be Kirby Smart's contract. That's going to be the opening offer. They haven't even negotiated yet, and Kirby's the highest paid coach in America. Now you add LSU to the mix. There's going to be some other schools that I don't think will be in the mix, but we'll be making offers to drive the price up.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, when it's all said and done, Lane Kiffin, the highest paid coach in college football when we start the season next year?
If he takes that LSU or Florida job, I would say yes. If he stays at Ole Miss, I would say he'll probably still land inside that top 5. Right now, it looks like he's making $9 million a year. Top 5, it would be Steve Sarkisian at 10.8. So it's, obviously no one's laughing at a $1.8 million raise. I think we would all love that. But in terms of the grand scheme of things for those programs, it's not the most ridiculous raise that anyone's ever got. So I would say stays at Ole Miss, probably landing in that top 5. If he takes one of those other 2 jobs, it's tough to imagine they don't at least match what Kirby Smart's making over in Athens.
1.08. Are you kidding me? Everybody listening and watching this show would take the 0.08 pay raise right now.
I'd love 1.08 over a 10-year span.
Yes.
0.08, that's $80,000 more. We'll all take that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan, look, man, be safe in your travels down to Florida if you're going this weekend. Good luck to Tennessee, and we will catch up with you later on next week when Tennessee takes on Vanderbilt in that rivalry game.
All right. Appreciate you having me on, guys. Thanks.
Rod, take care, brother.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so Heath, we are done with the Tennessee side of this matchup, and when we come back, we are going to be focusing on this game from the Florida perspective. Heath, any final words before we get to Florida for Tennessee?
No, just what I said at the beginning of the interview. I just wish this rivalry was played in September and it was the first SEC game of the year. I'm going to watch this game. I love this game. I've always loved this game, and I've always watched it year in, year out. And I'll watch it this weekend. But I hate that this game is being played a week before Thanksgiving. It just makes me say, you know what? I take that back, Stephen. I probably won't be watching this game. I'm going to be in Key West this weekend. I probably ain't going to be watching. I'm going to try to watch some football, but I might be out on a boat either in the Atlantic or the Gulf. I don't know.
Make sure you drink some boat drinks, okay?
I'll see what I can do. See if I can help you on that one, Stephen.
The Thanksgiving holiday is fastly approaching, and if you have a large family coming to your house, let the Coker Market take the hassle out of the Thanksgiving dinner for you. You can order from the Coker Market smoked turkey breast, smoked half a ham, a Boston butt, wings by the dozen, tenders by the dozen, or sausage balls. Now with casseroles, which you just take and bake, sweet potato casserole, cornbread dressing, and green bean casserole. They also offer baked beans, potato salad, and yeast rolls. You can find them at County Road 140 in Coker, Alabama at the intersection of Romulus Road at the four-way intersection, or you can call to get your order done at 205-331-5066. Once again, that is 331-5066. Let the Coker Market take the hassle out of the Thanksgiving dinner for you this holiday season. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Heath, are you ready to transition to the Florida Gators, who very easily could be looking at hiring their brand new head coach, and I said potentially Lane Kiffin here very soon?
They're going to hire somebody. We don't know who it's going to be, but I know they're going to hire somebody. I know that for a fact. I'm not going to be shocked, Stephen. I'm not going to be shocked if you see a guy like Dillingham from Arizona State end up at Florida. And I just thought about this. I wish I had brought this up when Ron was still with us, because he is with Rocky Top Insider, and we talked about the Sam Levitt, the quarterback at Arizona State. He would be a good fit at Tennessee for playing for Josh Heupel. But what if he ends up at Florida? What if he follows his head coach if he gets hired at Florida, and Dillingham and Levitt go to the Gators? It would be insane. Or even better yet, Baton Rouge. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But dude, welcome to college football. It is. None of us like the transfer portal. None of us like this NIL stuff, but it makes the season more crazy and more drama lines. I don't like drama, but there's more drama going on. So this is going to be fun, and I can't wait for this game this weekend.
I've got to do it. We're talking about the Gators. I love doing the Gator Chop there. And to talk about the coaching carousel and the X's and O's of Florida and Tennessee, here is Graham Hall of 247 Sports, who covers the Florida Gators. Graham, how are things with you in Gainesville, Florida, as we sit here awaiting Florida and Tennessee?
What's up, guys? I got no complaints whatsoever. This is always an exciting game. Season is getting towards the end, but Florida fans are still motivated to end it on a high note here. A night game in the Swamp against a rival. Back-to-back rivalry games coming up with Florida State on the horizon too. So it's going to be a good game in my mind. I know that most of the focus is on the coaching search and what happens next, but there's still a good bit for Florida to play for, and having a chance to beat a rival and effectively eliminate Tennessee from the college football playoff. I know they still have some outside hope sitting there, at number 20 in the updated rankings from last night. A chance to knock them out would be a positive note for a Florida team that has had an overall disappointing season, guys.
Graham, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the spot, man. Do you agree, and do you believe the rumors about Lane Kiffin being in Gainesville? Was he there on Sunday, yes or no?
Yeah, I can confirm he was there. I put it on our message board on Monday. Well, he wasn't there. Let me clarify. His ex-wife, Layla, was there with their son, Knox, and they had a chance. They weren't there for, they were there for 5-6 hours. Had a chance to see Gainesville, see some neighborhoods, meet with a high school head coach, which is an important part of this process here for Knox's promising high school career. So he wasn't there, but I guess you could say representatives, and his ex-wife and his son were there touring the area on Sunday. And I don't think it'll be the lone meeting that this week that representatives of the Kiffin family have with Florida's athletic department. I think you'll see some more here in the coming days, potentially later today. We'll see when it comes to what his plans are, as he has to make a decision on his future rather soon here. It's going to be here before we know it, before the Egg Bowl, in my mind. I know Ole Miss would like to have some clarity, and Florida fans are at a fever pitch with this whole coaching search, and the players as well, and the assistant coaches and people behind the scenes. They want to have some clarity on their future and what that's going to look like after this season comes to an end.
Graham, you're a friend of the show. We've had you on. We've shared some laughs together, but I got to compliment you. You're rocking that Ronald McDonald fro like nobody else.
I got a haircut tomorrow, man. It's a little too long. I'm usually wearing like a headband and keeping it out of my eyes. I'll say this, man. I get a lot of comments on my hair. No one ever said anything about my hair. When I was my whole life, from the age of 13 onwards, I bought a pair of clippers and was giving myself a one all over my whole life. there was one time I grew my hair out when I was in middle school on the basketball team, and it was like a little small, curly, not in the fro like it is now. I didn't have the flow going like this. But my wife saw some photos of me, realized that I had beautiful curly hair, and pretty much demanded, I didn't have much of a choice, that I had to grow it out so she could see what it looks like. And now we're here 4 years later, still rocking it. So no one ever commented on my appearance until I had the hair. Now it's people coming up to me being like, you look like Bob Ross. You look like Lil Dicky. You look like Cat Stevens. And I'll take it. Those are some talented, good-looking individuals. I'm
from Gen X. You look like the nice guy drug dealer on a Miami Vice episode. That will help the cops.
If there's any talent agents out there, who are looking for an extra in the background of a shot and want some beautiful hair and, a decent smile, and I can laugh a little bit, give me a call. I'm not hard to reach.
Yeah, and by the way, the nice guy drug dealer on Miami Vice, he either gets shot by the gang or he gets shot by the cops by accident. He dies in the end, no matter what.
I'll take it. Either way, that'd be cool. It'd be cool to see myself on TV, even if I'm laying in a pool of fake blood.
There you go. Graham, the one thing I wanted to touch on when you were talking about the Kiffins visiting Gainesville this past weekend, Layla Kiffin, she has family in Gainesville. Her father used to play quarterback for Florida, if I'm not mistaken, or her grandfather, one or the other. I think it was her father, but played quarterback there at Florida. So there's tradition there. She has family there. Matter of fact, Layla Kiffin and Lane's first date was in Gainesville. So this is not like a new city. It's not like they don't know this place. And I think you hit the nail on the head is, hey, let's go talk to this high school coach down here and see if Knox likes him and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if he's going to Florida. I don't know if he's staying in Oxford. I don't know if he's going to Baton Rouge. I don't know if he's going to end up with the New York Giants. I don't know. I don't really care. With all of that, what is the latest scuttlebutt that you've heard? Because it's going to change at least 3 times before this interview is over. So what's the latest that you've heard about all of this?
Yeah, I think that Lane Kiffin is the guy who is known to change his mind at a moment's notice, perhaps. So predicting maybe what he's thinking today, Wednesday morning, could be different than how he may have felt a week ago.
Right.
I do know that he has been, or at least a representative of his, or Jimmy Sexton, has talked with Florida at least for the last 2 weeks before the game against, the Citadel a couple weeks ago. He had conversations with Florida's representatives, and LSU has entered the mix as well and has presented him with the financials aren't going to be a question in Baton Rouge. And at Florida, the Gators have talked with him about having a treasure chest of NIL and a competitive offer and a chance to everything you just talked about, to be coaching at a place that has some personal connection to him, which hasn't been the case for really the last decade plus in his career. I don't think you could ever make a case that nowhere that he's coached really has as many personal connections to Lane Kiffin as the University of Florida. And he's worked himself to be in this position. Now, it's not obviously the Florida program at the competitive level that it was when he was growing up, a fan of the program, idolizing Steve Spurrier, looking at Urban Meyer, accusing Urban Meyer, back in 2009. It's a little bit different right now. The whole world of college football is different, but there are some personal ties to here and some motivations for a coach who has already made his wealth, has achieved a ton, may be looking to get to the mountaintops so that in 20 years, people are, when they talk about legendary Florida head coaches, they say Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, and Lane Kiffin. That may be a factor here for him. Now, if I'm Lane Kiffin, my biggest question, he knows Jim McElwain. He knows Billy Napier. He certainly is fond of Dan Mullen. His biggest question is, why did it not work out for those guys? Guys I consider to be good coaches. I mean, Lane Kiffin was at the Oakland Raiders as a young coach, and then Jim McElwain comes in a year later, or they were over, they overlapped by a year. And then he obviously knew Billy Napier at Alabama. He thinks highly of them. I know a lot of people thought that the compliments about those coaches was kind of like blowing smoke, but this is a fraternity and coaches think highly of one another. And if I'm Lane Kiffin, I want to wonder, I'm going to ask Florida's administration, what would be different for me than it wasn't for those coaches? What would I be able to do that they were not able to do? And so I think that is a pressing question for him as well. And it remains to be seen how much he is weighing those things. I mean, it's not just LSU and Florida here. I think that there's, if I had to guess, a desire here for Lane Kiffin to exit Ole Miss, if that is what he decides to do, and not be vilified. I mean, he has got them to the college football playoff. They're more than likely going to be hosting a game, potentially getting a first-round bye in the college football playoff if everything goes according to plan next weekend against Mississippi State and a few things shake their way. He wants to be able to, if he does leave and doesn't coach the playoffs, he doesn't want to be hated by that fan base who gave them success that they haven't tasted in many years and have set them up well for the future, regardless if he's on the sidelines or not in 2026. So I think that's an element of it here as well. He's got respect for Keith Carter. He likes the city of Oxford. He's praised it multiple times. He's got the family connections. There will be some things here, I think, that would be having him torn to staying in Oxford as much as of an appeal as it is to go to LSU or Florida. So a roundabout way to answer your question, I think that he's weighing a lot of things. His mind can change at any given moment. He's willing to hear these programs out because you never know when another opening could occur. I mean, he could go to LSU or he could go to Florida and it couldn't work out there in 4 or 5 years. And then one of the other places has an opening. And then you want to still have not burnt any bridges. You want to say that you've met with those programs. You've already saw them. You didn't want to shun anyone who's working in college athletics because it's such a relationship-oriented business. So the due diligence aspect is critical here. But as for what he's thinking right now, Wednesday morning, I mean, only Lane Kiffin may know that.
I know Steven's got a question for you, but if you had to put a percentage on it real quick, percentage you think Lane Kiffin's the head coach in Gainesville next year?
I'll be quite honest. I think 70%.
Okay.
I think that there's a really significant chance that Lane Kiffin is Florida's head coach. Now, I think that LSU is going to make a strong pitch. They would compensate him probably over $14 million a year, and he would have tons of resources. For him, I think he's seen, he's a guy who doesn't like to be told no. He wants to do things his own way, and there's certainly a conversation to be had about how much he has earned that. I think the situation at LSU, even if he's got respect for the new AD, the situation with how Brian Kelly's firing was handled, the influence of the governor, and just maybe the culture in Baton Rouge compared to Gainesville would be issues, I think, working against LSU in their favor here. Now, I can't rule the Tigers out whatsoever. And I also want to pose, which no Florida fan wants to think about. We talk about all these personal connections to the city of Gainesville. Layla went to Buchholz High School. I mean, how much does that actually matter to Lane Kiffin? No one knows because he spoke fondly of those memories, but he's never come out and said, I would love to coach at a place like the University of Florida. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you have great memories in your 20s and your 30s, and, I'm not that old yet, but I can imagine sometimes you just want to not mix business with pleasure. You want to not sully those old memories. I mean, going on a date with his ex-wife in Gainesville, Layla's connections, his son's affinity for Florida. Maybe you don't want to ruin those things or change those memories in any way. Maybe that is a situation here where he's always going to have great memories about the University of Florida and he doesn't want to potentially create bad ones. Yeah, he could create some fantastic ones where he goes and has success at a place that was dear to him, that kind of feels like fate in a sense, where he's going on a date with his ex-wife, 30 years ago. But at the same time, we don't know how much that matters to him. He hasn't come out and said that this is a desire. He wants to be like Steve Spurrier, but he never said, I want to be like Steve Spurrier at Florida.
Right.
So I'm going 70%, which is very confident because I do think that everything I've heard trends to Lane Kiffin being the guy for Florida without really much of a clear backup plan. I'm sure there is one, but all the eggs are in the Lane Kiffin basket right now that I'm pretty confident that Florida is going to land him if he decides to leave Ole Miss before or after the end of the regular season. I think that Florida is the landing spot for him rather than LSU.
All right, before we get to the coaching carousel, there is a game Saturday night there in Gainesville between Tennessee and Florida. Give us your thoughts on this game of Tennessee and Florida this weekend.
Yeah, it's a night game in the swamp. I mean, Florida fans have sold out 17 consecutive games, and they're playing at home for the first time in a month. And notably, they're playing at home for the first time in years, not under Billy Napier. So
Yep.
fans, I think, are going to be renewed. They're not going to be jeering the now former head coach. I mean, even that win over Mississippi State, you saw Florida fans chanting "Fire Billy Napier." That quote unquote distraction or whatever you want to call it is gone. And Florida's really playing without any pressure. I mean, you can ask many Florida fans, and yeah, they would tell you the season could get worse. They could lose to Tennessee and Florida State, but it's not like they could see all of their hopes erased. They have a chance to play spoiler, to beat a rival, to do what they did last year when the season had not gone the way it was supposed to go. But then they beat LSU and they beat Ole Miss because they're playing with house money, and they knock Ole Miss out of the college football playoff conversation. I mean, that is it's a good spot to be in, as undesirable as it may be. So I think that for Florida, you're going to see more of an effort similar to their game against Ole Miss this past weekend, rather than how they looked in Kentucky 2 weeks ago. They're going to be up for a night game. Florida's again, continue to get better play out of DJ Lagway. There's a lot of elements here that I think are going to have Florida with a lot of juice this weekend. Urban Meyer returning to the Swamp before he's inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame next month. I mean, can you imagine this scenario? Before the game, Urban Meyer goes into the locker room, talks to the team, says, "We're used to kicking Tennessee's tail. Do it, make this program proud, play for them." I mean, that's some additional motivation in my mind. I don't know how much, it actually could impact the on-field product, but there's so much to play for, from the continued audition for the next stops or to return at Florida under the new head coach, and obviously the rivalry aspects of this game. So I think Florida is going to look much better than they have in recent weeks. I think they'll look more similar to how they fared against Georgia and against Kentucky, and I think they have a good chance of coming out on top in this game. Tennessee's passing offense is better than I think a lot of people thought they'd be coming into the season. Joey Aguilar has nearly 3,000 passing yards, which would be a top 10 all-time passing season in Florida program history. And Florida's been pretty banged up in the secondary. So making sure that they limit the explosives, not have self-inflicted mistakes, which has been an issue, not just this season, but in recent years, quite frankly, not turning the ball over and giving the Vols short field, establishing the run. If the Gators do all those things, I think this is going to be a close game in the fourth quarter that could go either way. So I'm expecting a really good game on Saturday, one that I think is going to be determined by a handful of plays in this contest. And I could easily see Florida with the home field advantage coming out on top. I don't think Tennessee is as good as many people thought that they were going to be coming into this season. There's already been some angst up in Knoxville about Josh Heupel after they lost to Oklahoma, and he signed that contract extension back in August and maybe haven't got the results they were looking for. Like Florida, they thought they were going to be in the college football playoff conversation this year. And while they're still in the conversation, they're kind of being kept out of the inner circle of being talked about, considering they're sitting here at 20th at 7-3. So I think it's going to be a great game. I think that Florida matches up well with Tennessee, and it's all about, I hate to use coach speak here, but it's all about what Florida does in this game. Not to take anything away from Tennessee, obviously, but Florida has so many corrections they need to make and things they need to worry about. And if they shore those things up and limit their own mistakes, I think that they can contend with just about anybody in the country. Now, contend is different than beat. You need some things to go your way. You need to create turnovers. You need to have the other team impacted by the noise and make self-inflicted mistakes. So that comes down, obviously, the Florida fan base playing a part in it, but they're going to need Tennessee to aid Florida's effort to beat them on Saturday night.
Graham, look, man, as always, thank you for taking time to join us. Go and enjoy covering this incredible carousel of Lane Kiffin staying in Oxford, Gainesville, Baton Rouge, staying in Oxford, and also enjoy covering the Florida and Tennessee game this weekend. We would love to catch up with you next week to talk about the rivalry game between Florida and Florida State.
You know it, man. We're going to make it happen. I appreciate you reminding me of how busy I've been. I got to get some sleep. I'm glad you guys can't see these bags under the eyes. I got back from Memphis, Tennessee, from going to Oxford at 2 a.m. on Tuesday. So I'm rallying, man. I'm looking forward to a great game on Saturday. It's never a dull moment here with coaching search season and the 2025 season. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Looking forward to talking about some Florida State and breaking down this Tennessee game. Hope all's well with you, Stephen and Heath.
Graham, I hate it, man, because I live right outside of Memphis. If I was thinking, we'd have broken bread together, brother. I'd
You should have told me where to go to eat, man. I was at Taco Bell 4 times.
Oh, you have missed a life opportunity, my friend.
I know.
Hey, I'll think your life next time.
I've been out on Beale Street before. I've driven through Tennessee multiple times. I'll be back for sure. But yeah, I wish I had known a little bit. I stayed in Batesville, small little town outside of Oxford.
Dude, you were like 30 minutes from my house.
Oh man, I wish I had known.
Yeah,
you should have known I was there. We talk every week.
We do. That's on me. You know what?
All right, we got another chance. We're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that.
Thank you, Graham. Have a good one, man. All right. Okay, so Heath, that is going to wrap up the interview there with Graham Hall, and that's also going to do the interview and the show for Tennessee and Florida. Right after this, Heath, we will do a quick post show, and we're going to do 2 things because they're going to be brief. One of them is going to be, if you were Lane Kiffin, what would you do? And the other one is, we're going to talk about the playoff rankings from last night and the playoff committee right after this. I am representing a clothing company right here in Tuscaloosa that is called J&J Apparel. If you like the Mississippi State shirt that I have on, you can find all of their Mississippi State apparel as well as Auburn, Alabama, and Ole Miss at jnjapparel.com. They are located right here in Tuscaloosa, but they also have other merchandise for other SEC schools as well. So once again, if you do like this polo that I've got on and the Walking Bulldog, go to jnjapparel.com and get all of your SEC merch right there for Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn, and Mississippi State with J&J Apparel. Okay, so this is the post show right now, and Heath, let's begin with Lane Kiffin and the saga of staying in Oxford, going to Gainesville, or going to Baton Rouge. If you are Lane Kiffin, what do you do and why?
If you look at it strictly from money, Florida is 100% the answer because of the state income tax. You're not taxed on it, on your income. And so the free state of Florida, there's some benefits there. That's why there's so many millionaires and billionaires that run things out of Florida. They're businesses, small businesses, corporations. There's so many people that run things out of Florida because of no income tax. State of Tennessee is one of those states. There's only a couple of states that do that. So think about the taxes that you pay, blah, blah, blah. There you go. So Florida's a no-brainer if you're just looking at it for money. I think LSU has the deepest pockets and can make more things, but LSU looks like a circus right now.
Yeah.
And if it's not broke, don't fix it. If he's really enjoying Oxford and he thinks that his son can really develop as a high school football player at Oxford High School and go from there, great. But that's another thing. Does Lane Kiffin knows if his son's going to be a college quarterback or not. He already knows. He knows if he's going to be that good or not. It's his kid. He knows him better than anybody else. He knows. So is he going to college to be a coach or is he going to college to play football? I don't know. I don't care to know right now. So I lean toward Florida is the best answer for him. Family's there, you got other situations there, money's better, deeper pockets. And on top of that, Stephen, you got a fan base of boosters that are desperate. They are desperate to get back to being very meaningful. LSU, they're not that desperate. They're just mad that they're not winning. So that's the thing. But we've said it on the show, and I meant to ask both of our guests this, and I'll let you answer here after this. But I asked you on the show, and I'm asking everyone that's listening, if I set, the over-under at 0.5 of national championships Lane Kiffin is going to win at Ole Miss, are you taking the over or the under? Everyone's taking the under. You can't win a national title at Ole Miss in football. You can't. No matter how much Ole Miss fans think, well, if it happens in the playoff and we get high, 0.5, 99% of us are taking the under. Only Ole Miss fans are taking the over.
Yeah.
And most Ole Miss fans know it's never going to happen. So there you go. Here you go. If I set the over-under to 0.5 for an SEC championship, like you go to Atlanta and you win the game, and I set 0.5 for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, still 99% of the people are taking the under. You can't win an SEC title at Ole Miss. They've never been to the championship game. I mean, I'm sorry. It's a good program, but it's never going to be great. So does Kiffin want to win a national title? Does he want to get back to the National Football League? What does Kiffin want to do? And that's what we don't know. He's winning football right now, but if he wants to win national titles, he's probably going to go to Florida or LSU. If he wants to get back to the NFL, he could be with the New York Giants here, before we get to the month of December. I don't know. So, I mean, it's just crazy to look at and think about. And I'll say this, if he knows he's going to the New York Giants, he's going to keep his cards to himself, and he's going to play with Ole Miss during the playoff, and then he'll leave them at the altar when the season's over and go to the NFL. And I think Ole Miss fans could accept that better than him going to Florida or LSU. But I have no clue where he's going to go. If I'm picking, I'm going Florida unless I want to go to the NFL. And then I'm going to wait to see what other jobs open up. What about you, Stephen? Where do you think he's going?
If I'm Lane Kiffin and I have an option of going to either place, LSU is off the table for me because of all of the turmoil with Brian Kelly, the lawsuit, the former AD potentially could also file a lawsuit, and then the governor getting involved. All of that noise and that chatter is just too much. Too much for me. It's too much of a distraction for all of the recruits that I could potentially get. If I'm Lane Kiffin and I'm in that position, I'm sorry, LSU, too much outside noise. For me, it's either Ole Miss where I'm grounded or it is Florida. Because like I said, man, there's too much of a circus act going on in Baton Rouge with Brian Kelly and Scott Woodard and the governor of Louisiana for me to take that job serious right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And here's another thing that no one has talked about, Stephen, and I will bring it up. No one's talking about this. If the New York Giants and the NFL are serious, him and Jackson Dart are getting back together again.
Yep.
No one's talking about that.
Right.
He already knows the quarterback. He's got confidence in the quarterback, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a feeling that he does. I mean, Jackson Dart broke all of Eli Manning's records, and he owned almost all the records there at Ole Miss. So, I don't know. I'll say this. If the question was asked to me, do you think Lane Kiffin ends up in Oxford next year? My answer is probably not. If you asked me this time last week, I was like, Kiffin's going to stay in Oxford.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of I don't know. But I will say this. Everything we've just said in the last few seconds, few minutes, and the past hour on this show, it could all change 6 times in the next hour.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to the podcast, like, well, you said, well, you're an idiot too. So look, this is a very fluid situation. It's going to change. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, Stephen, I'm going to make something crazy up. Let's just say the Ohio State coach finds out that he has 2 weeks to live. He's going to step down, and now Ohio State's in the running for Lane Kiffin. I made that up.
Right.
But I'm not going to be shocked if more teams jump in on this, whether it be NFL. I'm not buying UCLA. Lane Kiffin's not going to UCLA. I've heard some rumors about that. I laughed every time I heard them. He's not going to consider UCLA.
No.
I don't think Penn State wants him. I don't think he wants Penn State. I don't think that's a good cultural fit for either. Do I think Lane Kiffin can be hugely successful at Penn State? Yes, I do. Right. Do I think that Penn State fans are going to be happy that Lane does it the way he does? I don't think they would. And I think that's why it wouldn't be a good fit. So there's so much going on. But we know Lane loves the beach. We know Lane's got a boat. We know Gainesville's not close to a beach, but we know he's got a lot of family in Gainesville area. He's got a lot of history. I mean, Gainesville's more home than Oxford has ever been. Gainesville is more home to Lane Kiffin than Oxford. So I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying that he's completely staying at Ole Miss. I'm not completely buying that he's going to Gainesville.
Right.
But I will say this. He's going to drag this out, and he's going to become the highest paid coach in college football. There's not a doubt in my mind. That's why he's sending his family on planes to Gainesville and Baton Rouge, so he can just become the highest paid coach in college football. And I think that's going to be Florida, where he's going to not have to pay income tax on that new salary.
Heath, let's do now a new setting for the Stingray Show. From now on, we keep the show around 1 hour, and we have done that right now. We're actually an hour and a minute in. So what we're going to do is on the show tomorrow, our post-show thing will be us discussing the playoffs. So we will discuss that tomorrow because we've got to move on, because a lot of people's attention span can't go more than an hour, which is understandable.
So people's attention spans don't go for more than about 20 seconds.
I know, right? So we are going to sign off here on the Stingray Show today, and we will begin tomorrow with a preview of the Kentucky and Vanderbilt game that is this weekend, and then on Friday we will discuss Texas and Arkansas. We will see you tomorrow right back here on the Stingray Show for another hour of great content right here on the Stingray Show, but we're postponing the playoff talk until the end of the show tomorrow.
There you go. Steven, I got 8 trillion things to do today. What about you?
I do too. So we got to get out of here, man.
I wish you'd have lied to me and told me you were going to go fishing.
Nope, can't do that today, man. Not the time nor the place.
I got to get stuff done, man. Anyway, I feel you.
Right. Dude, I'll see you later. Go get your stuff done. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Steven, be good, brother.
We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. The Thanksgiving holiday is fastly approaching, and if you have a large family coming to your house, let the Coker Market take the hassle out of the Thanksgiving dinner for you. You can order from the Coker Market smoked turkey breast, smoked half a ham, a Boston butt, wings by the dozen, tenders by the dozen, or sausage balls. Now with casseroles, which you just take and bake, sweet potato casserole, cornbread dressing, and green bean casserole. They also offer baked beans, potato salad, and yeast rolls. You can find them at County Road 140 in Coker, Alabama at the intersection of Romulus Road at the four-way intersection, or you can call to get your order done at 205-331-5066. Once again, that is 331-5066. Let the Coker Market take the hassle out of the Thanksgiving dinner for you this holiday season.